Welcome back to the Creative Corner. We have some glare on the glasses today because I have the window open. We also might have some background noise because my nephew's kind of hanging out with me. Hopefully he doesn't show up on screen because then I will have to re-record. But he said he wanted. We are going to talk about Bride today, I believe. Let me double check because last time I thought we were talking about Bride and we weren't. Yes, we are talking about Bride today. And we're going to start a new project. Every time I make a blanket, I always get to a certain part, and I was like, oh, this would be a good skirt every single time. And so I'm actually going to try to make a skirt. I want to make one for myself, but I don't think I have enough yarn for it. But I have these three like springy Easter colors, like this silky pink and this silky seafoam and this regular purple that were from a couple of years ago, actually, on a book blanket I had done on TikTok instead of stitches and stories. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to take this and attempt to make one that'll fit my 3-year-old niece. Is that how old your sister is? Is Harm 3?
No.
She's 3, right? She's turning 4?
No.
You don't know either? Okay. I think she's 3. We've determined that 50 stitches is too big for her. And even though I can double hem it and I can make it thicker, and I might have to. I don't know. That's the thing is I'm not sure. This is the first time doing this. And so um we're going to start. I really think 20 is going to be too small because 15 is what we use on our headbands. And I mean, it's a different size needle, but still. So I think we're actually going to start with 40. And if I have to hem it in further, we'll double layer it. I will. But we're going to start with 40 and we're going to try to do stripes. So, Nick, why don't you pick out our first stripe color? Which stripe color should we start with? Which one do you think baby will like? The purple?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. That's a good base. It's a nice sturdy yarn. Okay, so we're going to start with the purple on this while we discuss our book. So the book today is Bride, as we talked about, and it's by Ali Hazelwood. I waited a year on a wait list for this book. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. See, I think that's too small for baby's waist. So we're going to double it. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, so Bride by Ali Hazelwood is 416 pages. I have switched pretty much over to all ebook and audiobooks, and so I didn't want to go buy this one, which honestly I had to fight because I love Hazelwood's books. Her and Rainbow Rowell, I kind of would just like to keep as trophies on my shelf, but I waited on a wait list at the library for the audiobook for almost a year, and now the second book is out, and now I have to wait on the list for that one. But it is fiction. It is urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and STEM. The STEM shocked me. Ali Hazelwood does a lot of STEM romances. If you don't know what STEM is, it's science, tech, um, engineering, and math. It's basically scientific careers and stuff. They teach it in schools too. They'll use that system a lot. They'll be like, remember, we need to get STEM in the lesson plans, all right? And so all of her stories, and I didn't think it was going to happen in this one, but it did. All of her stories have a main girl who is involved in STEM in some way. And here our main character is a programmer and a coder and a hacker, and she's also a vampire. So she still had the STEM elements, which was kind of nice. It was kind of nice to see her calling card in this, but at the same time, I hadn't expected it. I went into this book a little unsure because I love paranormal romance and I love Ali Hazelwood, but she doesn't write paranormal romance, or she didn't. She wrote STEM contemporary romance. So I was like, what is this going to be? Is this going to end up being like a Twilight thing? It didn't. It wasn't. It was actually pretty good, and I'm looking forward to Mate, the second book. So this contains STEM elements, as we talked about. The Lycans have green blood. Vampires have a dulled sense of smell. It kind of confused me at first because I was like, what? Um, Vampires should have a very good sense of smell, but then she kind of went on to explain that they have a good sense of smell, they just can't tell the difference between like flowers and stuff. Because to them, flowers smell like flowers, and their sense of smell is more primal for blood and everything. Um, she was going to get a point off for the way she wrote kids. One of the things I absolutely hate is, and I know this sounds mean, but I don't like authors who can't write children. Okay, I've grown up around a lot of kids. My family's big in foster care. There's kids everywhere. I've seen kids with developmental delays. I've seen kids that are above average. And one thing that drives me nuts is when there's a 6-year-old in a story and they talk like they're 3. Okay. Um, and I was annoyed with this at first in here, and I thought I was gonna have to take off points for it, and I kind of did. I ended up taking off 1 point for it. Okay, but I took it off in readability, not writing, because the vampire, when she meets this child, first of all, the child, when we first meet it, seems to talk really young. And the vampire goes, "There was a child standing in front of me, and I couldn't tell if she was 3 or 13." And I was like, "Excuse me? How can you not tell if a child is 3 or 13? I don't care if you're a vampire or human or what. It's obvious if a child is 3 or 13. All right?" And then the kid was like holding up fingers to say how old they were. They were like, "I'm 7." And then they held up 6 fingers. And 7 and 6-year-olds don't usually do that. Turns out the kid is about 6. Um, and as the story progresses, and we see the kid more and the kid talks more, the kid talks like a normal 6-year-old and not like a 3-year-old learning how to form sentences. Okay, so I only took 1 point off for it because it started off rough, but her writing of the kid did get much better. Heartbeat signatures. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard of that in any other book, and it should be. It should be in other vampire books. She states that to her name's Misery, first of all, which is fabulous. Our vampire girl's name is Misery. And she states that everyone that she knows, she recognizes them by their heartbeat. Everyone's heartbeat is different. And so to a vampire, they're a signature, and you can tell who someone is by their heartbeat. Kind of like you can tell by footsteps or handwriting and stuff. There's a lot of protective siblings in here. The werewolf Mel, the werewolf main character, Mel, is protective of his younger sister. Misery's brother turns out to be protective. At first, you think maybe he's a jerk, but he turns out to be protective. This involves true mates. There's a lot of politics in this book. So the vampires, the werewolves, and the humans are all trying to live in harmony, but they're not very good at it. And so the vampires had a deal with the humans where they would send the humans a vampire child, and the humans would send them a human child. And then if one of them screwed up, they would kill that child. And Misery's dad is in charge of the vampires, and she also was the collateral, which is what they called the kids. And so she also lived in human. She grew up in human territory, okay? And her dad doesn't seem to care about her at all. And then when she gets out of this, she gets called home, and her dad's like, "Yo, you're marrying this werewolf." And she's like, "Excuse me? We're not even friends with the werewolves. We hate the werewolves." And he's like, "I know." He's like, "But because we have a new like senator involved in the human world and they don't want to do the collateral program, I can't trust them not to form allegiances with the wares, so we're going to form an allegiance with the were, and you are going to marry their alpha." And she's like, "I don't want to marry their alpha." And he's like, "I don't care." And so she ends up being forced to marry their alpha. And then this isn't really a spoiler because you kind of get it early on. She doesn't. Ali Hazelwood does a great job at this of having miscommunication to the point that the reader knows what the miscommunication is, but the characters don't. So Misery doesn't realize that the true mate of her husband is her, but the reader realizes it. Okay? And so it's not really a spoiler, but she's actually his true mate, and then he's battling with that because they come from two different cultures, and werewolves culture mate's different than vampire culture, and he doesn't want to hurt her. Um, One of my favorite lines in this book, um, no, it wasn't in this book. I said I fell in love with this book like I fell asleep, and this book reminded me of the line from John Green that says "slow at first and then all at once," because at first I wasn't sure how I felt about this book, and then as the book went on, I really, really liked this book, and I fell in love with it. And it's just another hit by Ali Hazelwood for me. Um, I really love this author. I didn't see the villain coming, guys. I really thought the villain was going to be someone else. You know that the villain is going to be someone in politics. There is like 3 or 4 different people that you could suspect to be like the cause of all the drama that's going on. Like, um, the little girl gets almost kidnapped, and they're trying to figure out who this guy is working for, and they're pretty sure he's working for this one person, and then the former pack leader's wife, who our main character killed the pack leader to take over because that pack leader was very abusive and very tyranty, and so he wanted to be a better alpha, and he took over for and he killed him. But um, the villain for this came out of left field for me, and I love the villain. This is how a villain should be written. This villain did not have any remorse for what they did. They were given a chance to repent. They were given a chance to talk after they were captured. Um, they were given a chance to explain away the kidnapping of Misery's best friend and everything. Um, and they didn't care. They were not sorry at all. And that is a good villain to me. Someone who did what they did because they thought that they needed to do it and has no remorse for it, okay? Because every villain is a hero in their own mind. And this villain thought that they were doing the right thing, but they themselves are out of date. And so, um, everyone's been trying to convince them to move forward and everything. I'm trying to say this without spoiling it, of course. But it's not it's not quite working. And so when it comes down to it, they're not sorry. I can't wait for book 2. Turns out it's out already. There's cultural differences in species, talks about mixed marriage. Um, the kid's out of the room. So this has the best fucking smut ever in it. I'm not even gonna lie, okay? I love Ali Hazelwood sex scenes, I'm not gonna lie. They're pretty freaking awesome. This is amazing. This combines your your alpha omega dynamics with contemporary romance in a way, and it's really, really well written and well done. It's explicit, but it's not like over the top explicit, but it's still 18 plus, okay? There's a couple different sex scenes in this book, but the big one is, of course, when they ultimately do end up mating. I already said I waited on a year for this. What did you think of this book? What will you take away from it? Like all of Hazelwood's books, I loved it. It used wares and humans and vampires to show the intricacies of politics and love. What was the aim of the book, and how well did the author fulfill it? It was basically to show that society needs to move forward in life, and that you can cross cultural, love crosses cultural and not species. And here it's species, but cultural and racial boundaries. Um, when you see werewolves and vampires and stuff falling in love, it brings up the question in fantasy that what is a person? Okay, because when you are in fantasy books, orcs are people, elves are people, gnomes are people, Goblins are on the borderline. No one knows if they're people or not, okay? Kobolds are not people. Um, Wolves are not people. Bears are not people. Owlbears are not people. And so it's this different kind of divide. It's not just humans that are considered people. It's other different species too. So in here, the werewolves, the vampires, and humans are all people. So yeah, they're technically crossing special boundaries, but they're not because in fantasy, when you do that, it's less like the elves and humans are a different species, even though they are. It's more like different races, in a sense. You see prejudice in these books, and it's usually to show racism. Like usually in these books, in fantasy, you can have humans with different races, right? But you're not gonna have racism as we know it. You're not gonna have like a white main character mad that they have to travel with a black main character. You're gonna have a human character mad that they have to travel with an elf. That kind of thing, okay? And so the species and racist thing kind of gets swapped in here. And they do it for a reason because basically in fantasy, anything that has a soul is a person. All right. So I put, yeah, it's kind of like crossing special boundaries in here, but not quite. It's more like learning that mixed races, basically. You can marry whoever you want, you fall in love with whoever you want. All right. But it's nothing like bestiality or anything like that. Would you recommend this book to others? Who's the target audience? Target audience is obviously paranormal lovers. Um, if you grew up reading Twilight, Dracula, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, um, that one series with um, the main character's name was like Snooky. What was that series called? I don't remember. If you grew up reading those, you will like this book. If you're into paranormal romance, you will like this book. And so I said that the main audience is paranormal romance lovers and 18 plus. Ali Hazelwood is not a YA lover. Yes, I know her covers look very YA. They're very colorful. Teenagers look at them and go, oh, I want to read this. But she does do explicit sex scenes in all of her characters, I believe. I haven't read a single one of her books where the characters are underage, guys. Okay. So this is meant for adults. And I love her books because all of her characters are around my age. They're around their 30s. They're in their 20s to 40s area. And it's about adults falling in love. And so I loved it. One sentence book review. This is a fucking delicious book. So themes, cultural differences, political powers, leadership, mixed marriages, and mates, true mates specifically, which is like true love, but not quite. They talk about how, so the true mate concept comes from the concept that everyone can fall in love with multiple people, but there's always like one person that is your person that you feel completely drawn to, kind of like a twin flame kind of thing. And so this deals with that concept. For the rating, I gave it 5 in plot, 5 in characters, 5 in writing, 5 in enjoyment, 5 in setting, 4 in readability, just because of that child. Okay. So it got an overall 5-star rating from me. It is 416 pages. I highly recommend it if you are an 18 plus paranormal romance reader. And I need to get Mate. Like, I don't know if I can wait another year on a freaking wait list for the audiobook for Mate. I may just buy it at the end of the month. Just buy the audiobook so I can read it. Because Mate takes place immediately after this. This one ends in a cliffhanger, sort of. It ends with another werewolf walking in and discovering who their true mate is, and this werewolf is very old. This werewolf is the mentor of our alpha, and he walks in and smells this person he never met before, who becomes an important character in this book, this girl, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's her. That's my mate. That's the one I'm supposed to be with forever, and this girl is going through her own thing. She's a mixed kid and she's going through her own identity crisis. And so I can't wait to read this book because he deserves a happy ending. She deserves a happy ending. And I want to see more misery with her love too. And so it's going to be great. I also am interested to see if vampires and werewolves can reproduce. I'm not gonna lie. Um, are we gonna end up with a mixed breed here? Or are we gonna end up with? Because some people do that. Some authors of fantasy will have it where a werewolf and a vampire can have a kid. Um, and in here we know the vampires can reproduce. It's not like in Twilight where, kind of in Twilight, they kind of break that. But it's not like in most vampire books where the vampire can't actually have kids because a vampire has to be created through turning, and vampires, if they have kids, their kids are born dead and therefore they can't be alive. Um, and they can't have children. This is different. And so I'm interested to see how this works. But anyway, that is Bride, and I'm going to mark that done. And I did not keep track of how far I was knitting on this, so I'm going to have to watch it when I do stripes, or I could just make her a purple skirt. Could just do that. The next one we'll talk about is a I Survived book, and it's I Survived the Battle of D-Day. So that will be next Sunday. Trying to do these every Sunday, so go ahead and check that out. And then then we're almost caught up, so I need to finish a couple books. That one's done. I just need to finish writing it. That one's done. And I need to get down an Agatha Christie one that I'm reading too. So, anyway, have a great Sunday, guys. Enjoy your day. I hope it's nice where you are. Thank you guys for joining us. I love all of you souls. You are amazing creatures, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye, guys.